The natural reaction I think we all felt this week on seeing the horrendous video which recorded the murder of George Floyd was utter revulsion. But as the protests spread and the accusations increased of institutionalized racism, societal racism, both in America and closer to home, I personally couldn't help but feel, what exactly has that got to do with me? What's that got to do with us as Jews? After all, no race or ethnicity has been persecuted more than our own, more than the Jewish people. And in fact, in 1958, Dr. Martin Luther King himself at a JC convention declared, let me quote, "My people were brought to America in chains. Your people," he said, "were driven here to escape the chains fashioned for them in Europe. Our unity is born of our common struggle for centuries, not only to rid ourselves of the bondage, but to make oppression of any people by others an impossibility." And in fact, it's well documented that Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel was a central figure in the struggle for civil rights. He stood alongside Dr. Martin Luther King. They lectured together and they famously marched together. And when I saw the video, I couldn't help but think somebody actually stood there and filmed this act, this crime. Somebody actually bore witness and decided to film it rather than to take any action to try to prevent that murder taking place. There was a statement that I came across by Martin Luther King, and it troubled me greatly, and it made me reconsider that perhaps, in a sense, we are all responsible for prejudice and for racism. He said that he was once asked before a march that wasn't it wrong that they endangered the lives of so many people, of so many innocent bystanders, when he would lead this march, the Selma March, which could become and did become violent. His answer was quite simple and direct, and yet it is astounding what he said. He said the term innocent bystander is itself an oxymoron. If you're a bystander, he said, you're never innocent. And if we think about it from a Jewish perspective, that is absolutely in line with our philosophy and our thinking. After all, the Torah tells us, do not stand idly by the blood of your brother. In other words, standing by, doing nothing, makes you culpable for that crime that you witnessed. And in fact, in Jewish law, the concept of shtika kodah, that remaining silent, it makes you to be deemed in Jewish law as if you have acquiesced. And therefore there is no such thing as standing by, being indifferent to the plight of what is going on around you. And therefore, however much we pride ourselves on the fact that we are sensitive and considerate to other faiths, to other races, inevitably we have to ask the question whether we are doing enough, or whether we have done enough in the past to eliminate racism and prejudices. And I was thinking of a couple of years ago, if we're really being honest, about the situation in Israel. And there was tension between the Ethiopian Olim, the Ethiopians that had come as immigrants to fulfill their dream of coming to the promised land after so many years. And they became very, very frustrated and they started protesting. And their protest was because they felt that they were being differentiated. They were disadvantaged. They were being treated differently to the Russian Olim. And therefore, I think if we consider Israel and our own community, every now and again there are differences in the way that we behave and the way that we treat different people. In Britain, without a shadow of a doubt, there is still racism and discrimination. One only has to think about events such as football matches, which are still marred by and overshadowed by chanting racist slurs at players, throwing things onto the pitch. And in many societal events that we have in our British calendar, many of them are seen as only for a certain type. It's not open or fitting for everyone to attend. And therefore, I think, on reflection, merely remaining silent is no longer an option. We all have a duty for the future to be able to stand up and to be counted. It's no good just posting things on social media or just writing articles. It's not going to help or make any lasting change. In the same way as Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel stood side by side, shoulder to shoulder with Dr. Martin Luther King and was prepared to march with him, to stand with him in solidarity, now is the time that we have to stand with every member of our community, of the society in which we live, with our black brothers and sisters, and to be able to support them in this struggle. Their struggle is our struggle. Discrimination and prejudice against anyone is wrong. If we want to bring about real change, it starts with us. Shabbat Shalom.